भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचार निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेमा परदाय कृष्ण जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणे. Hare Krishna. So today we'll see four, chapter 4, verse number 25. The title of the chapter is Transcendental Knowledge. So let us chant the shloka. Daivam eva pare yadnam
दैवम् एव परेयज्ञम्
yogina paryupasate
योगिनः पर्युपासते
brahma agnau apareyagyam
ब्रह्माज्ञावपरेयज्ञम्
yajnena yajnenevo pajuyati
यज्ञेनैवोपजुह्वति
Daivame vapare yajnam
दैवमेवापरे यज्ञम्
yogina paryupasate
योगिना पर्युपासते
brahmagnau pare yajnam
ब्रह्मज्ञापरे यज्ञम्
yajne nevo pajuyvati.
यज्ञेनैवोपजूयति
Please chant.
दैवम् एव परेयज्ञम् योगिनः पर्युपासते ब्रह्माज्ञावपरेयज्ञम् यज्ञेनैवोपजुह्वति
दैवं परे यज्ञं योगिनः पर्युपसते ब्रह्म ब्रह्माग्नौ अपरे यज्ञं यज्ञेनैवोपजुह्वति.
Okay, so translation and purport. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifice to them, and some offer sacrifice in the fire of Supreme Brahman. Purport. As described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Krishna consciousness is also called a perfect yogi, a first class yogi. But there are others also who perform similar sacrifices in worship of the demigods, and still others who sacrifice the Supreme Brahman or the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. So there are different kinds of sacrifices in terms of different categories. Such different categories of sacrifice by different types of performance only superficially demark varieties of sacrifice. Factually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is also known as Yajna. All the different varieties of sacrifice can be placed within two primary divisions, namely sacrifice for worldly possessions and sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Those who are in Krishna consciousness sacrifice all material possessions for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material possessions to satisfy demigods such as Indra, sun god, etc. And others who are impersonal sacrifice their identity by merging into existence of impersonal Brahman. The demigods are the powerful living entities appointed by the Supreme Lord for the maintenance and supervision of the material functions like the heating, watering and lightning of the universe. Those who are interested in material benefits worship the demigods by various sacrifice according to Vedic rituals. They are called Bhava Ishvaravadi, or believers in many gods. But others who worship the impersonal feature of the absolute truth and regard the forms of the demigod as temporary sacrifice their individual selves in the supreme fire and thus end their individual existence by merging into existence of the supreme. Such impersonal it sacrifice their time in philosophical speculation to understand the transcendental nature of the supreme. In other words, the fruity workers sacrifice their material possessions for material enjoyment, whereas impersonalists sacrifice their material designations with view of merging into existence of supreme. For the impersonalist, the fire altar of sacrifice is supreme Brahman, and the offering self is the self being consumed by the fire of Brahman. The Krishna conscious persons like Arjuna, however, sacrifices everything for the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus all his material possessions as well as his own self, everything is sacrificed for Krishna. Thus he is first class yogi. But he does not lose his individual existence. So here, like yesterday and 23rd shloka, Krishna told Arjuna that you work for yajna. By working for yajna, you will get uh, transcendental knowledge, uh, and by that, your work will be merged into transcendence. So, then he yesterday we saw that it depends on how the consciousness is, because everything is emanating from Krishna. The same material things can be spiritual if they are connected with connected with the Lord or Vishnu or Krishna. So it depends on person who is doing the sacrifice, how he is connecting to God. So here now, Krishna is telling about the different levels of people who do the sacrifice. So, though ultimately we have to, everyone has to worship Vishnu, and Vishnu is the um, ultimate goal of sacrifice, or who he is the one who receives the uh, result of the sacrifices or ahuti. But not all people in this world will be at the same level. So there will be people, there will be yogis, because the word yogi is used because everyone who is doing sacrifice is a yogi. So there will be some yogis who will not directly worship Vishnu. Everybody has their own level of consciousness, and according to that, they worship at different level. So here, Krishna is telling about Daivam. So the different devtas like Indra, Varuna, and all other devtas are there. So some worship them. Some worship the Gyan yogis who try to understand the difference between spirit and matter, and the Paramatma. So, and the Brahman concept. So their aim is to understand Paramatma, and to understand that they are ready to sacrifice themselves and merge into existence of this um, impersonal feature or the bodily rays of the Lord. So that is also one level of sacrifice. Worshipping devtas is also one level of sacrifice. So everybody is doing the sacrifice as per their consciousness and their situation. So the Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, like there are different gods who are in charge of the different areas. Some is in Indra is in charge of rain, Agni Dev, Varun. So similarly, all the body parts that we have and all the natural things, there is in charge for that. So each devta who is in charge of that particular area takes care of that. So that's why in the Puranas or in the Shastra we find many times there are prescriptions, like if you want a lot of money, you worship say Lakshmi. If you want good face, a good husband, worship so and so God. So there are so many sacrifices which are meant to achieve something. Uh, but still it's Daivam. So, but still it's better than the Karma Kanda where you are just trying to enjoy the fruits of the results. But when the sacrifice is done for the Devtas, it is still at a higher consciousness because we are the yogi is trying to connect with the higher self, not only enjoy the results. So that way it's at higher consciousness, and still higher are the Gyan yogis who try to understand the differences. So what they do, Brahmagna. So in the Agni of Brahma, they sacrifice themselves, their existence, because our own existence is the major thing. So to sacrifice the existence is also a difficult thing. But the Gyan yogis are ready to do this to understand the um, impersonal uh, feature. But like Srila Prabhupada mentions in the end, the devotees of the Lord, those are pure devotees like Arjuna, who are associating with the Lord, they have their personal identification. So even if they go away from this material world to the spiritual world, they will have their own existence. They will exist in this world and also in the spiritual world, and then they will have relationship with the um, they will have a relationship with the Lord, individual relationships. So some are attached, or some are want to maintain their individuality and the serve the Lord, and some just want the peace or get peace means liberation from the miseries of this world. So such people they will remain in a Brahman concept where there is no personal relationships or exchanges, right? So that is different. So here Krishna is explaining about two people who are worshipping the devtas for some reason, uh, but they still have higher consciousness because they're trying to connect higher. So they will also gradually progress. They will gradually progress towards the understanding of the Lord. When they do the sacrifices, uh, they, they, they will understand. The Gyan Yogis also, when they are ready to sacrifice and they understand the Paramatma to the level of Paramatma or Brahman, then if they meet any devotee, then they get converted to devotee and then they aspire for the personal relationships. So ultimately, everything we have to connect to Vishnu, and everybody is on that path to connect to Vishnu. But it's always like if we have a certain goal, then we cannot directly reach the goal. There will be certain major milestones to reach the goal. So those are the milestones that are there that should be considered. So everybody not be aiming at the final goal. Some may be aiming at the second goal or the third level goal. So it depends on everybody's um, consciousness. So Krishna will explain more about the different kinds of sacrifices that are done at different level of people. So that we'll see in next few shlokas from tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Next 6, 7 shlokas are, I think, it's just a different types of sacrifices done. Almost 5 to 6 shlokas. So any comments? Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So let us see more about the sacrifices and how it culminates into transcendental knowledge. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.